What would your 5-year-old self be most surprised by?
Going from the cornfields in Hebron, Maryland to the halls of Congress it would be a big thing, I think, for a 5-year-old. Becoming a Navy SEAL would have been a big thing. Becoming a father, as you know, getting an undergrad and a master's degree from Harvard University, I definitely wouldn't have thought that was going to happen.
Where over the course of this journey have your morals and ethics either been enhanced and affirmed or really challenged?
That's a little tough. Am I still 5 years old?
Nope, you're an adult now.
You realize, okay, what you thought was you were doing the right thing moving forward, and then your perspective changes, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, not that you're doing the wrong thing suddenly, but it just doesn't matter as much.
Right, you've had some legitimate real life external forces against you.
Of course, when you talk about the SEAL team, try to contemplate, okay, let me look in the past and figure out.
Headed the rearview mirror is where you look back and you decide if you need to speed up, slow down, change lanes, just quick little glances, but it helps give you that context from a peripheral standpoint. When you talk about being in war, whether it's being in war the way that you've discussed it, war with themselves as an entrepreneur trying to build a business and they're not sure if it's going to work, the idea that there's this conflict, you've actually been in and around real conflict. There have been times that you were afraid of failure or that something would go wrong.
When you mentioned entrepreneurs, and I mean, you deal with businesses all the time, and I'm sure there are folks that are entrepreneurs or business owners that are will want to start businesses that are going to watch this and listen to this podcast. And so, it's a scary thing. It's super scary, when you put everything on the line for something that you believe in, that you want to start and be successful and maybe have a family, whatever it is. It's like, it's super scary.
We've all seen that. That's just not how it works. There's evolutions and periods of success.
This is one of those things that sort of have changed throughout my life. Life is precious, and you never know how much time you have.
That is back to the alignment of being who you are and listening to the intuition.
Are you happy? Plenty of people who have tons of money who are so unhappy, and I would argue that is not what success is like. That guy changed the whole trajectory of my life. I mean, literally everything. Like, you wouldn't even be speaking to me right now if it wasn't for that guy.
Do you think it was him validating a part of your worth that you felt but hadn't yet been reflected?
100%. 100%. He said, in your letter, you wrote, I just want someone to come to my games.
Oh.
I told you that's going to make you cry.
Even adults nowadays have issue with self-worth. And back to the entrepreneur, there's a lot of people that struggle with how much do I charge, or they'll undercut because they feel like their services aren't valued the right way. And there's a lot of struggle where they believe that they have something to offer, but they don't know how to claim it. And that starts with somebody saying, I see you.
He would tell you that he got more out of it than I did.
Yeah.
Which I disagree with 100%, but he would say that to you. I got more out of this than Scott got. Because this is important, I think, for anybody that's out there listening.
There's that element of living outside of yourself and being connected to some bigger purposes that are less egocentric and more, whether it's servant or whether it's giving back or whether it's giving time, whatever it may be, some of that, it just seems to come back to you in a way that helps pave more of that road for success for people.
Nothing is ever as bad as you think it's going to be.
Listening to your story, going from where you went, you had this drive to accomplish goals. Like, intrinsically, you were trying to achieve something and then the next and then the next. And that is an eternal fortitude and drive that money can't buy. What would you recommend people do for the need to refill their tank mentally and emotionally?
When I lost my race in Congress, for example, I needed to get away to recharge and refocus.
Once you get farther and farther away, it's more in the rearview mirror, and it seems to matter less at that point.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's really ridiculous to be paralyzed with a failure, or you have the ability to move forward. You're not dead. You keep moving forward.
Yeah.
You would be surprised when you ask for something how much you get.
Yeah. And
Most people just don't ask.
Right, and the worst they say is no, and then you just go ask somebody else.
Who cares? You just go ask somebody else. I've had understood the finite time frame of life from a very early age.
Be the final destination. Looking back and saying, okay, this journey was what it was supposed to be. What would you see?
I've thought about this a lot before because, unfortunately, I've buried a lot of my friends. I've already, buried more than I'd wish on anybody. And so I've thought about this a lot, and if it was tomorrow was the end, would I be content?
I appreciate you coming on because it's a perspective that on paper, and this is the point of it, on paper, you could have a certain belief about what it takes. Every step has led you to be able to impact more and more. And that's the legacy, like leaving the legacy work that is very, very profound. One little nugget of wisdom on anything.
How much time we got?
And that's a wrap.